Amanda Lee, a 50-year-old woman from Crewe, Cheshire in the United Kingdom, has a long history of antisocial behavior dating back to the 1990s. Her criminal record spans over 2 decades, with 15 convictions between 1996 and 2018. Lee's offenses have ranged from harassment and public order violations to misuse of emergency services. However, the most notorious aspect of her criminal activities was a persistent poo bombing campaign that reportedly lasted for 25 years. This involved repeatedly defecating on her neighbor's property, causing significant distress to the community. In response to Lee's ongoing behavior, the Cheshire Constabulary sought and obtained a criminal behavior order from the Crewe Magistrates Court on July 12, 2021. This measure was taken after all other reasonable avenues to address her crimes had been exhausted. PC Alex Barker of the Crewe Beat Management Team explained that despite being convicted numerous times, Lee's attitude and behavior had not changed in the slightest. The CBO imposed on Amanda Lee includes several specific restrictions designed to prevent her from engaging in further disruption. The order prohibits Lee from possessing alcohol in an open container within a designated exclusion zone, using abusive language or threatening behavior in public places, using a dog to threaten or intimidate people, contacting police on emergency numbers unless she has a genuine reason for doing so, urinating or defecating in any open space, and entering a specific street named Priest Court. The exclusion zone encompasses several areas in Crewe, including Vernon Way, West Street, Hightown, Browning Street, Richard Moon Street, Flag Lane, Dunwoody Way, and Oak Street. The most striking and unusual aspect of the CBO is the explicit ban on urinating or defecating in public spaces. This restriction has raised eyebrows and sparked discussions about why such a specific prohibition was necessary in the first place, given that public defecation is generally considered illegal. The inclusion of this particular restriction highlights the severity and persistence of Lee's offenses. If Amanda Lee violates any of the terms outlined in the order, she could face serious legal consequences. Breaching a CBO is considered a criminal offense and carries a maximum punishment of up to 5 years in prison. The duck hunt robbery is an unusual case that emerged from a small town in South Carolina where a man used a toy gun from an old video game to commit a crime. The incident occurred on May 30th, 2023 at the Sharon Quick Stop convenience store in Sharon, South Carolina. This small town, located in York County, has a population of just over 2,500 residents. The robbery was executed by David Joseph D'Alessandro, a 25-year-old resident of the area. David's choice of weapon was a spray-painted Nintendo Zapper. This plastic toy was an accessory to the Nintendo video game known as Duck Hunt. The game allowed players to shoot virtual ducks on screen using the Zapper. On the day in question, David entered the store at approximately 5:45 p.m., wearing a disguise that included a mask, wig, and hoodie. Witnesses reported seeing him enter the store and demand money from the clerk while brandishing what appeared to be a firearm. In reality, it was just a toy gun tucked into his waistband. Under pressure and fearing for their safety, the clerk complied with the demands and handed over approximately $300 from the cash register. Despite his initial success in executing the robbery, David's freedom was short-lived. Law enforcement responded swiftly to the scene. Deputies from the York County Sheriff's Office quickly located him in the parking lot of a nearby Dollar General store. Upon searching him, they discovered the duck hunt pistol concealed in his pants. He was arrested on site and subsequently booked into the York County Detention Center. David's background prior to this incident included minor legal infractions. He had 3 speeding violations in York County, but no significant criminal history. In light of his actions, he faced serious legal consequences despite using a toy gun during the robbery. He was charged with armed robbery with a deadly weapon. Even though he wielded a toy gun, South Carolina law considers representations of deadly weapons as sufficient grounds for armed robbery charges if those present reasonably believe them to be real threats. In addition to armed robbery, David faced charges of petty larceny for stealing less than $2,000 and wearing masks in public, a violation under South Carolina law that prohibits individuals over 16 from concealing their identities in public spaces. And based on the information I could dig up, it doesn't seem that David D'Alessandro has been sentenced yet, but it's estimated that the sentence could include 15 to 30 years in prison. Antoine Sims, a 24-year-old man, had a complex legal history. In October 2018, Sims was implicated in a serious crime that would set the stage for his future legal troubles. He was accused of involvement in the death of Adalisa Muradovic, a 21-year-old woman. According to Johns Creek police, Muradovic accompanied her boyfriend Michael Smith and Deshaun Flournoy to the retreat at Johns Creek Apartments on October 29, 2018. The group allegedly went to buy marijuana from Sims when a gunfight erupted. During the exchange of gunfire, Muradovic was fatally shot. Afterwards, Sims allegedly drove the car containing her body to a Lawrenceville subdivision and set it on fire with her remains inside. The burning vehicle was discovered around 3:30 a.m. the following morning. As a result of this incident, Sims, along with Smith and Flournoy, were all charged with felony murder. While Smith and Flournoy turned themselves in about a month after the incident, Sims fled. He was eventually arrested in Wisconsin in March 2019. He remained incarcerated from 2019 until February 2022, when he was granted a $275,000 bond and released. As part of his release conditions, he was required to wear an ankle monitor. He was scheduled to enter a final plea for the murder case on July 26, 2022, but failed to appear in court, resulting in an active warrant for his arrest. This background sets the stage for the events that unfolded at the Kennesaw McDonald's on August 5, 2022, where a dispute over cold French fries would lead to the discovery of Sims' outstanding warrant and his subsequent arrest. Sims and his fiancée visited the McDonald's location on Cobb Parkway that day. According to Sims' account to the police, their orders seemed to take longer than expected. When they finally received their food, Sims found that the fries were not as hot as he desired. This dissatisfaction prompted him to approach the cashier to complain. He explained to the police that he had not been given a receipt for his order, which meant he was unable to know if his order number had been called. This lack of a receipt became a point of contention in the dispute. In Sims' exact words, he said, "So now our food is sitting there cold. So when I come up, I try the fries. The fries are lukewarm, but they're not hot." Instead of requesting a refund, which Sims believed would take several days to process and appear in his bank account, he asked for a fresh order of fries. This request, however, did not go smoothly and led to an argument with the restaurant staff. The situation quickly deteriorated from then on. According to the restaurant owner's account to the police, Sims became increasingly aggressive during the interaction. The owner alleged that Sims started swearing, demanding that they, quote, "fix the fucking food." The dispute escalated further when Sims allegedly threw his drink at the staff. Sims was then asked to leave the building, but further disagreement led to police being called. Upon arrival, the officers began gathering statements from both Sims and the restaurant staff to understand the situation. Sims maintained that he had calmly and simply been seeking a resolution to his complaint about the cold food. In light of the confrontation, the manager expressed a desire for Sims to be issued a criminal trespass warning. He was quoted saying, "I don't ever want him back here." Interestingly, the manager made an observation to the police about Sims' appearance. He said, "I mean, he's obviously on probation, he's got an ankle bracelet on." Police then ran Sims' information, which spit out the active warrant for his arrest after he failed to appear in court for that previous murder charge. This immediately shifted the nature of the encounter. As Sims sprinted away, the officers immediately gave chase on foot. The sudden flight caught the officers off guard, but they quickly radioed for backup and began coordinating efforts to apprehend the fleeing suspect. The chase lasted approximately 20 minutes, covering a significant distance from the initial scene. During this time, Sims demonstrated his determination to evade capture, leading officers through various areas of Kennesaw. As the chase progressed, additional law enforcement units joined the effort. The Kennesaw Police Department coordinated with the nearby units to set up a perimeter and track Sims' movements. The pursuit eventually led to a nearby apartment complex where the situation escalated further. In a desperate attempt to evade capture, Sims allegedly tried to break into a third-floor apartment. As Sims continued his attempts to escape, the officers closed in. At this point, with Sims still refusing to surrender, the officers were forced to take more drastic action to subdue him. One of the officers made the decision to deploy a taser to incapacitate him. They placed him in handcuffs and ensured he was no longer a flight risk. Sims was then transported to the Cobb County Jail. Following his arrest, Sims faced multiple legal consequences. New charges were filed against him, including obstruction of law enforcement, criminal trespass, and possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute, as police found 31 grams of marijuana in his fiance's vehicle. Sims was held without bond pending transfer to Fulton County Jail for the outstanding murder warrant. On October 23, 2009, in Carroll, Iowa, a peculiar crime attempt unfolded. Matthew Allen McNelly, 23, and Joey Lee Miller, 20, both residents of western Iowa, became infamous for their ill-conceived plan and even more poorly executed disguise. The incident began when Carroll police received a call reporting two men with painted faces attempting to break into an apartment. The caller described the suspects as wearing dark hooded tops and fleeing in a large white car. What made this case stand out was the suspect's unusual attempt at concealment. Instead of using traditional masks or other forms of disguise, McNelly and Miller opted to use permanent black marker to draw masks on their faces, including what appeared to be beards or mustaches scrawled directly onto their skin. Responding to the call, Carroll police officers spotted a vehicle matching the description provided by the witness. It was a 1994 Buick Roadmaster. The police pulled over the car at gunpoint. Upon approaching the vehicle, the officers were met with an unexpected sight: two men with their faces covered in black marker ink. Carroll Police Chief Jeff Kaler later commented on the ease of identifying the suspects, jokingly stating, "We're very skilled investigators and the black faces gave them right away." He added, "I have to assume the officers were kind of laughing at the time. I've never heard of coloring your face with a permanent marker." Initially, both McNelly and Miller were charged with attempted second-degree burglary. McNelly faced an additional charge of operating a vehicle while intoxicated. The men appeared at Carroll County Magistrate Court on Monday, October 26, 2009, and were released on bail. However, despite the initial charges and media attention, the legal outcome of the case took an unexpected turn. On an unspecified date, Judge Christopher Polking dismissed the attempted burglary charges against both McNelly and Miller. The judge cited insufficient evidence to support probable cause that the men committed the crime. It was noted that there was no evidence the men had entered the apartment, neither man possessed a weapon, and no one was injured during the incident. While the exact motive for the attempted break-in was not definitively established, some information emerged. Police Chief Kaler suggested that one of the suspects believed the owner of the apartment was seeing his girlfriend. It was speculated that the men's intention might have been to confront or scare the apartment occupant rather than commit a burglary. Multiple sources indicate that alcohol likely played a significant role in this incident. Kaler stated, "Presumably it wasn't so much of a burglary as they were going to have some kind of a discussion, let's say. For what's worth, it appeared they had both been drinking quite a bit and maybe weren't thinking quite rationally." The additional OWI charge against McNelly further supports the involvement of alcohol.